and it was written by women, which was weird. And again, I know some of you are going to be like tuning out at this, but I have to bring it up. And it really reminded me of the wet blanket syndrome that Wasp has suffered from in the MCU as well. Wendy having to be the mother figure with the Peter Pan story. All the boys want to have fun, but Tinkerbell's the jealous biatch, right? And why isn't Tinkerbell open to threesomes is basically the story there. And then they're only interested in Wendy as far as she's like the mom of the group, which means she cooks and cleans for everybody and doesn't get to really join any of the fun. It's annoying stuff. So I thought that was portrayed here, and that really bothered me. So it was really Thor and all of his women, right? I mean, they made that choice very clear. They found a way to get rid of Nick Fury. They found a way to get rid of Odin, so that everyone Thor was interacting with was women. But yet, I think for the most part, this episode could still not pass the Bechdel test, which is, I think, quite telling. Maybe it does because of the Goose conversation, but I think Goose is a male cat, and I think that, I think women, and considering the negative, cat lady thing that's always used as an insult to women to try and bring women down, I don't really love them talking about cats. So that was a problem that I had. And then, but I did think, I guess it does play into these movies that I mentioned, right? Although, of course, in, actually The Breakfast Club is the one where Molly Ringwald is the star. But, like Risky Business, all the women are prostitutes, right? So, I mean, women didn't have great roles in those movies either. But can't we just do a better job this time around, maybe? I don't know, maybe? I mean, none of the women here were real characters. They were all filling roles. The girlfriend, the mother, the work wife, Captain Marvel, or the rival, right? But of course, not as cool. So it really bothered me. Also, the art style made all the women in particular, and we've been talking about this, look alike. They just all had different, they just snapped on different hair on all of them. And I'm like, these actresses could not look more different in real life. All right, so I'll go through the women really quickly. I have to say this. All right, so Jane Foster, totally unprofessional. Wow, this was humiliating. How about some personal dignity, Jane? I mean, in real life, Thor would have totally ghosted her. But this was written by a woman. They didn't want it to seem too offensive. So, of course, he actually truly loved her. All right, that's a big gamble for everybody, though. I think that this was ridiculous. Then with Darcy, I couldn't believe that they wrote and that everybody approved the brunette joke. I thought that was horrible. That Howard the Duck was said to Darcy, big talk coming from a brunette. I'm like, wow. And then I was like, at the very least, I mean, you might say that he was just flirting with Darcy, but then you're like, so what? Howard the Duck negs women? The MCU is advocating negging as a flirtation way to go? I mean, that's ridiculous to me. I don't even still to this day understand how negging works on anybody. Then Captain Marvel, I had a lot of problems here. All right, so Thor says there's a Midgardian word for women like you. And of course, we all were thinking biatch, right? But of course, they go with party pooper. But, they still set up the situation and they still got everybody thinking it who's watching the show. And that's uncool. He also even told her to smile. And I think that maybe AC Bradley might have been doing this to point out how bad it is. But when Thor is so much cooler than Captain Marvel, I don't think anyone's going to have that be the takeaway, being like, oh, yes, Thor was wrong to make those burns. They'll be like, oh, wicked burn. They were totally on the money. I mean, and also the fact that Captain Marvel was trying to shut down the party and was an authority figure and no one respected that, I mean, that's a big problem for women in authority. When a police officer tries to make an arrest. It's really Captain Marvel wasn't being allowed to do her job. And that's pretty bad. Although she was a bit of a party pooper with Darcy. You're at an 8 or whatever, I need you to bring it down to a 4, and you're like, just be happy someone's talking to you, Captain Marvel. All right, so, big problems there. Maria Hill, also a wet blanket. I thought the way that she was portrayed literally had her nose up in everyone's face for the entire episode. Then Frigga, why did it take her so long to get to Midgard, by the way? I thought this was instantaneous. I'm like, how does he have time to do all this cleaning up? And I don't understand why Odin had to be asleep, why they couldn't call both parents. Because, in a lot of these movies, both parents are involved. It's not just the mother. And then, even though Jane knew it was Frigga, she knew the names of all the Norse mythology gods. When she showed up, she still called her Mrs. Odin or Odin wife. And I was like, are you kidding me with that? Really? So, wow. That was bad. All right, so at the very least, I hope maybe I've also educated some people who might not have realized that this was bad, and then you'll see. All right, so those are my thoughts on the episode. What did you think? Share your thoughts.